Two, test one, two.
Test one,
Why are you
two.
trolling like test?
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I kind of got to go back and play some more Destiny. The raid awaits. Can we wrap this up, please?
Hello, and welcome to our second episode of Sips and Clips. I am Michael Schusterman.
And I am Lian McFalls. We have our first guest today.
How exciting.
Yeah. Why don't
Why don't you introduce yourself?
introduce yourself?
My name is Grant. I am currently working as a post PA in the grand old city of Los Angeles. I myself have aspirations to be an editor, like the two of you here, and am here to talk about what it's like to be on this journey and on this life.
I think for anybody listening, they should know that in this room right now, Lian and I are what many people in Los Angeles would classify as short. So Grant being here is genuinely terrifying. This man is a monster who towers to the ceiling. He's actually pinning us all down by our throats right now.
Yeah, I'm cowering just being in his existence
But
right
yes.
now.
It's all with love. It's all with love for both
Are
of
you
you
sure
guys.
about that though?
It's how I show my love, is just through a little intimidation.
Through a little bit of
and if one of you passes out, then that's not my problem.
I do imagine that must be funny as a post PA where like I could like walk in. I feel like editors are typically like short people. I don't know why. It's like I get that vibe. But it like you walk around. I feel like if I was a post PA and I walked into a room and I was taller than all of my bosses, they'd be like, "Hi guy, I'm trying to stand up in my chair right now."
Michael just got 5 feet taller.
It's scary.
Whoa, where'd that come
But
from?
you'd just be like, "What coffee can I get you?" And then I had to like look up at my PA who's like taller than me. I'd be like, "I'll have a small cappuccino, please."
Well, I feel like my size definitely surprises people with my age. People always assume that I am like
Older.
one of the seconds or the first, or it's like when I say a PA, you're like, oh, and it's like there's like that like stunned look in their face too.
Yeah.
So I do like to poke fun at that sometimes.
See, I
Mhm.
think I have that look in my eye that I'm tired. So nobody ever thinks I'm young anymore. They look at me and they're like, that man is tired.
He's been through stuff.
That man's been through 3 divorces. That's what my face gives
Oh my
away.
God. So what are we all sipping on today, Michael?
I am once again sipping on a watered down almond latte. I feel like that is pretty par for the course for me.
But where's this one from?
This one is from Bluestone Lane.
Bluestone Lane.
Shout out to the Australians. They make a good cup of coffee.
Strong name.
Bluestone?
Yeah.
Strong name. What about you, Grant?
I am sipping on some of, I think it was Yucca Gold. You made it for me.
I did make it for you. Yeah, it was something like that. Yucca Gold.
It's a medium roast home coffee.
Yeah,
It's
medium
delicious.
roast.
Thank you.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
good.
Drinking it flat, black, and bitter, the way I like it.
Grant is drinking it out of a mug that says fluent in movie quotes and sarcasm, which might be the most millennial cup I've ever seen in my life.
That was a gift from my boyfriend's younger brother for Christmas.
Wow.
Mm.
It's
A
great.
few years ago.
I love it.
And I think that it actually, I mean, I'm not really fluent in movie quotes, but I got a lot of sarcasm.
It's a
in me,
good
so
cup, though. It
works.
feels like the type of cup that, like, if I went onto an article that said top 10 gifts for the filmmaker in your family, that would be,
That would be it.
you know, like that'd be item number 4. It'd be like this mug.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. Well, you got like a movie theme going on in your house. I noticed the Irishman posters and like the Batman frame freezes that you've got in a little poster too. So
Yeah.
it fits
Yeah.
in with it all.
Yeah. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
And you, what are you sipping on?
I'm sipping. It
And
looks
what is
really
this?
gross.
Yeah, I don't even know what
It
this
looks
is.
really. I'm
It looks
telling you
healthy.
guys, it looks really gross.
Looks like it would make Popeye's muscles
The
bulge
reason-
out if he were to.
The reason why
be
it
drinking
looks
on it.
gross and brown is because it's a smoothie that I make, and this is water, chocolate protein powder, kale, and frozen bananas.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it tastes better than
Then
it
it
looks,
sounds.
and maybe than it sounds.
I mean, like, none of those
Um,
things are, I guess, horrendous to me, like,
Yeah.
flavor-wise.
It's just a healthy smoothie
It's-
that I like
it's
to
appealing
make for
to me.
myself.
Once again, we were recording this episode in Leanne's gym laundry room. So I honestly feel like that's pretty par for the course, having your protein shake in
In a gym.
a gym.
On brand. Very on brand.
Yeah.
Zoe on brand. I had to mix it up
Yeah.
from last time,
Mm.
you know.
So Grant, why are you here? Why did we bring you today?
Well, from my understanding, you guys want to know what the life of a PA is like and understand the mental framework that
the mental
laugh
toll.
at. The mental toll that I have.
The mental toll of being a
of
PA.
facing up the tall ladder in front of me and trying to grab onto the next rung.
Exactly. So
know how to get there.
The idea behind this podcast was we just kind of want to chat with people about different aspects of our business that don't really get talked about. And I feel like, I've known you for a long time. Lian and I were talking about, well, what is that real first step that most people take when they try to get into our business? And it's been a little bit since Lian or I PA'd. So we thought, what better than to bring in the king of PAs himself
and talk about that
and
process.
talk about what that's like. And then also, whether or not you're thinking about joining the union and what the process looks like for doing that. And then on top of that, you have a special accolade being this last year's ACE intern. I think for a lot of people who are trying to break into editorial, they'll hear that program tossed around a lot, but I think a lot of people don't even necessarily know what it is, just that it is prestigious. So it would be cool for you to give us kind of an overview of both what that program was like and what your experience was doing it.
Also, because both me and Michael have not done the ACE internship.
Neither
before.
of us have.
Neither of us have. So it'd be great to hear the ins and outs of that as well. So, like Michael said, besides talking about PA, we'll talk about the union in this episode, and then just the steps into going up from PA to assistant and what those entail.
Well, do you want me to give you my, story so far?
Give us
a story. How you got into it,
yeah.
and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah,
and what you're working on.
What you're working on.
So basically, it all started way back in the day. At Chapman University.
Chapman University.
Week 1. And this is also the origin story of Michael and I's relationship too, which is...
You went to Chapman University?
I did. Wait, did you go to Chapman University?
I did go to Chapman University.
No way.
These Chapman students. I can't. I'm just going to sit back on this one, I guess. Yeah. I might as well not even be in this podcast.
It's actually, when people aren't looking, we go in every editing room I've ever been in, you build an effigy to Pete the Panther, and we go in the back. And we lay down like rabbits we caught. I don't know what panthers eat.
You know what?
At the floor
all I got to say is go Owls and go Birds.
Just saying, pause up.
Anyways.
So you went to Chapman.
And when I went to Chapman, I knew I wanted to be an editor from the beginning, I think, which I found a lot of help with. And so I was able to get onto a lot of projects early on, working as an editor, getting a lot of practice. And I got really close with a lot of editors at Chapman. And so that's how I met Michael, was through a little thing called Film School 101, where I got to go and get some great advice from upperclassmen. I also met Haley Stablo there as well. It was actually the two of you who were the ones to tell me about the ACE internship at that week, that first week,
101. That's crazy.
Which I think is crazy. And I remember it was you guys telling me that. Anyways, spent my time at Chapman, and towards the end of my tenure there, I got reached out to by Michael because he knew I was graduating, and he was like, "Hey, Grant, my roommate is looking for someone to fill in her position as a VFX PA on a Star Wars show. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "Michael, do you even need to ask me that question? That's the dumbest thing you've probably asked. Let me just send you my materials right now." So I sent him my resume, and he passed it along to her, and I didn't hear anything for 3 months. Go and graduate, and lo and behold, just the luckiest set of circumstances occurred. I walked for graduation on a Saturday. The following Monday, I got an email about that job, and they're like, "Hey, Grant, just got your resume, would love to chat with you." Had an interview for that the following Tuesday, was told I got the job that Thursday, and started working the following Tuesday again.
Wow.
So just straight out of graduation, cleanest. Like, again, that doesn't happen. Like, that is such a rarity to ever happen. So for that chain of events to occur was just incredible. So so the week after I graduated, I started working as a visual effects production assistant, and that show would end up being the one and only show I'd be on for the next 2 years, which this week is my last week on that show. We are just now wrapping, but my journey on that production has been pretty crazy too. So I came on as a visual effects production assistant, worked on set during production for about a year. We then went into post, was working as a PXPA during post-production for about, I think it was 6 months. 3 of those months were pre-strike, and the next 3 were when the writer's strike occurred. The writer's strike happened, and because visual effects isn't attached to a union, I was able to continue working for a brief period of time. The writing was getting on the wall, though, or the strike was going on pretty long, that I kind of did foresee that probably wasn't going to last for too long. And so that was the time that I actually applied to the ACE internship. And actually worked out great because literally timing was perfect. The day after I got laid off from the show was the day I had my interview for the internship. And that was the day I found out I got the internship. And so I was able to go straight into that right afterwards. So I was in the internship for about 2 to 3 months. And then right after the internship ended, the strike had also ended. And so the editorial team reached back out to me and they said, hey, we know you were interested in joining editorial. Would you want to come on as our post PA? And I said, absolutely. And so I bounced back onto the same show, working now as a post PA. And I've been there now for the last 7 months. And we're just about to wrap up our time there.
So I know that you just mentioned the ACE internship. And what exactly is that? I mean, me and Michael haven't done the ACE internship, so we don't know the process of what it takes to get into it and what's also involved in it.
So the ACE internship itself it's structured in a kind of like half mentor-mentee program, but then also it's mostly a shadowing program where you get assigned to an assortment of different productions. You get onto a feature film, a scripted television show, and a reality TV show, and you also get time to go to some post houses. But you spend the week with an entire editorial team, and you kind of get to be just a fly on the wall, see what work goes on the cutting room floor. You get time spent with the editors, with the assistant editors, with the PA, with visual effects editors, with post supervisors, and you really get to kind of get into the nitty gritty of just what is the work that you do.
So you're kind of like half a post PA, half a student.
Yeah, but you're not doing any production work.
It's just that you're kind of, like you said, shadowing. So you're just kind of like walking and watching the cutting room and seeing what the experience is like.
Yeah. And what's great is you get to sit side by side with people in their offices. They encourage you to bring a journal with you. So I had a journal with me and I was taking down notes as I was just asking any question I could think of, like, how do you structure your bins and why do you do it that way? What is it you're doing this? What is a reel? What is dailies? And it's a great opportunity just to kind of be, like a student and get educated on the whole process. For me, what was super beneficial was getting the opportunity to see the difference between the structure of a scripted feature film and a scripted television show, a reality show, and seeing the intricacies of how, each one of those medians differentiates how a team is structured.
And I feel like we should clarify for anybody listening, what is ACE?
ACE is American Cinema Editors.
And who are they?
So I hope I do them good in describing this. Basically, the way I look at it is it's kind of like a club of a bunch of Hollywood's most premier editors. When I say premier, that's more in line with experience, right? And so to have the ACE letters by your name, which if you ever watch a movie and you see the credits and you see film edited by, so-and-so, you might see ACE by their name. And that means they're a member of ACE. And that's kind of a staple of saying, hey, you've worked in this industry for this long. You've kind of proven your work and your craft.
It's like the honor society.
It's an honor society, yeah. But what's really special about ACE is their whole motto is to advance the art and education of film editing. And so they're super inclusive and bringing in a lot of people. And it's just a place for editors to come together and learn about how to advance their own skill sets, to meet other editors and really establish a community, because there's really not a lot of editors out there. We are a small subsection of this entire industry. Mm-hmm. And so it's a kind of a coming together place of just, in my experience, support and love and community.
Mm-hmm. The ACE internship wasn't your first brush up with ACE though.
No, that's true. That wasn't. When I was still at Chapman, so ACE does this really great program called the ACE Student Editing Competition, where if you go in to kind of compete in it, basically what they'll do is they'll give you dailies of a scene from just a TV show, basically. Or at least for me, I got scenes of a TV show. I got a line script for that scene.
And you do this normally when you're still in college.
When you're still in college, yes. And they kind of just give you free rein, hey, cut this scene together however you think best. Here's the script. Here's the circle takes from set. Choose to follow them or ignore them as you like, but just how would you cut this scene together? And it's great because it's a real footage from a real TV show. And so as a student, getting to work with that footage, I thought was just the greatest exercise of just kind of, narrative scripted editing. So you cut it together, submit it, and then they choose what they believe to be the best 3 cuts. And they invite those 3 students to the ACE Eddie Awards, which is kind of like the Oscars, but for film editorial specifically in Hollywood. and they choose a winner. So when I did it in 2022, I was one of the 3 nominees for that program. I didn't end up getting it, but it was super
Congrats.
great.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, it was super cool.
Grant brought me as his hot date to the cocktail hour the day before the Ace Eddies.
Amazing.
It was great. I had a great time.
Yeah, but it was great too, because that was my first introduction to Ace, and honestly, that experience I think is what solidified me wanting to go into editorial, was through meeting a lot of working professionals in Hollywood and as editors. What was really cool about, I think, the editorial community in Hollywood is to be an editor and to be working in this field, you have to be very passionate about what you do.
Yeah.
And like, as everybody says, like, we are invisible artists. And so we put in all this work and we put in all this effort and this love, really not for name recognition. It was, again, just to put in that love for the project. And so doing the student editing competition, getting to meet a lot of people in ACE, I saw, the people that for me were, idols and like role models for me for the work that they had done, and just seeing how humble they were and seeing how in love with the work that they did, it really inspired me to kind of be like, okay, yeah, like this is the community that I want to be a part of.
That's cool.
Real quick, kind of go over the structure of the program itself. So when you apply to the ACE internship, one of the greatest things aspect, and the reason why I encourage everybody to apply, is you automatically are allowed access to the ACE internship lecture series, which is a week-long series of panels they put on for everybody who applies.
And you can do those lecture series even if you're not the ACE intern.
Yes, yeah. So again, you just apply to the internship and you're automatically invited to come into it.
I think the cool thing about that lecture series is you'll hear 2 people talk about the same topic and have vastly different opinions about how to approach it.
Yeah.
And so you kind of realize that there's no one way to skin a cat, really. Like different people have very different philosophies and different beliefs about how certain things should be done in the business.
Right.
And I think it's a great place too to really see just how many different paths there can be for you going into this career path. Getting that perspective of understanding what options you have in front of you for all the different routes you may be able to go is so helpful when you're trying to figure out what your next step is. We also got the chance to go to some post facilities. I got to go to Photochem for a day and got to see their film lab, which is really cool. Meet some people working there, some colorists and some sound designers there. I got to go to Smart Post Sound, which is a small sound facility, and kind of seeing what their relationship with editors are like. I got to go to Lola VFX to see kind of what a VFX vendor house looks like. And so it's a really great overview of just the whole post pipeline.
That's amazing. So you finish the ACE internship, you do this VFX PAing, you do the ACE internship. Now you're just about done post PAing. Again,
for editorial.
For editorial.
Which is different than being a PA for visual effects.
Yes, very different.
Yeah. So broad question, Lian and I, it's been a little bit since we've PA'd or had to go through kind of the process you're going through now, which is, looking forward to that next step after being a post PA. Can you elucidate for us what that looks like? What, Lian and I are both members of the union. Are you also trying to become a member of the union? The process, like what does it look like for you now as somebody in your position?
So for me specifically, my goals lie in, I want to work in scripted feature. And so with that being a goal in mind, really the main thing you want to do is get into the union, because most large budget, even small budget scripted features are union productions. And the only way you can work as a union production and touch an Avid is by being in the union. And so that is kind of my main next goal. There's been 2 paths presented for me to getting to the union. One of them is getting my days in the union. The other one is getting a bump up to an apprentice editor on a scripted production.
And just so, getting your days means to have 100 days of work on a union eligible show. And the days equals 8-hour work days. And you would submit that to,
contract services.
Contract services or the CSATF.
Or the roster. And we love our names.
We love our names and abbreviations. Or the IR.
The IER.
What does the IER stand for again?
The industry experience roster.
Yes.
All the different editorial boogeymen that are out there that...
Yeah, I know.
All the different... Yeah.
So you need... clarify me if I'm wrong. You need 100 days registered with contract services.
Yes.
And then you're union eligible. And then once you're union eligible, once you're on a union production, you're actually made a member of the union.
And usually the traditional path to doing that is going into unscripted and working on unscripted shows. I have a lot of friends that have worked in reality, and they've gotten their days working in reality. I have other friends who have been working at trailer houses, and they've actually been allowing days worked there to count towards the union. I have one friend who recently has been working for pretty much like a YouTube studio where it's like they run a YouTube channel, and the work they've been doing on that channel has also
qualified.
Wow. Yeah, which is a really new thing. That's never happened in the past before.
Yeah, I know, because it's hard to kind of define what union eligible means anymore. Yeah, because it could be, like you said, a YouTube studio show, but it has to also be like broadcast somewhere, or there was like different criteria.
I know they've been.
Because it used to be, in Hollywood, it was very delineated that it was like you did work that was straight to VHS, you did work that was straight to DVD, you did work that was straight to, some type of VOD, whatever it was.
Or just non-union.
Yeah.
Just working on a non-union show.
Yeah.
Yes.
I forgot to also say independent features also apply to this too.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of one subsection you can go. The other path, which is the one that I'm trying to work on, is...
Which is the one that Lian did.
I did the days.
You did your days.
I did my days. I was lucky to be an assistant editor on Hallmark films, which are not union shows. So I was able to get...
I was like,
that's
iconic.
Yeah. That is
great.
That is so iconic. I love
it. Great.
Yeah. It was... Yeah, so I was able to be an assistant editor there, and then because I worked with a company that just kind of had Hallmark movies coming in to them. So I wasn't working for Hallmark, I was working for the company, but they were the post house for certain films. So they would just put me on as an assistant, and that's how I just got my days. And they also did like indie features, so I did that too. And then they were working with the Universal 1440 department, which was kind of like a straight to home video, and that was my first union show.
But there's a second way of getting in the union.
There is a second way. Because I have been very fortunate in already being in the scripted world, one path is if you're already in there, there's a new apprenticeship program that the union has been trying to push on a lot of productions, where it's basically that kind of transitioning position from PA to assistant editor, where it's a role that allows you to step into the Avid, but it's also a role that is focused on kind of mentorship and education and teaching. And in order to get that, your production and your team needs to apply you to get into it. So for me, this is what my team is about to be doing, is because I'm not in the union and I don't have my days, my team needs to put together an argument saying, hey, so Grant, as our PA, we want him to do some more tasks to help out with editorial, but we need him to be touching the Avid. And so these are a list of tasks that we need him to do. Can you please grant us the permission to bump him straight into the union so that he can start doing those roles? If the union accepts, you then work for 30 days while that process goes on, and then eventually you are flipped and you begin working as an apprentice editor.
And this is also the way that Michael got into the union.
This is what I did. Yeah. The apprenticeship has always been kind of for a long time it kind of went away.
Yeah.
It just wasn't a popular thing. We've had the apprenticeship classification for decades now.
But, it goes back to the film days.
Yeah,
a lot of the
read
verbiage.
The old contract. Yeah, it's all about It's about carrying dailies canisters and carrying film stock and sweeping the floors of old dailies. It's got a lot of these old things in it. But it's become very popular in the last 5, 6, 7 years to bring in more apprentices into the cutting room.
And I will say, one of the tough things about it is, when you are just starting out, it's all about the circles that you're around, the community that you have for people to kind of give you the opportunities to find the jobs. And if you're trying to get into scripted editorial, unless you are able to kind of get your foot in the door working as a PA in scripted, it can be really tough going after that position, which is why a lot of people, from what I've seen at least, go the reality or independent route to kind of get your days, because there's a lot more agency you have in going down that path, whereas to do the apprentice bump kind of path, you kind of have to be lucky, honestly.
You have to be in the
right crowd to be able to do that. And so if you are kind of looking to get that first step in the door, that's one thing that you kind of need to keep in mind, I would say. Again, I've been very fortunate in that I was able to kind of immediately kind of go into that environment where that could be a potential route. But if I wasn't, I probably would have tried going the reality route first to kind of get my days. Yeah.
Being an apprentice is always it's definitely, it's not a for sure thing for anybody trying to do it, but if you can identify a cutting room culture where that is something that an editor wants to foster, and especially assistant editors want to foster, is that kind of learning environment, and they're willing to go through it. It's definitely, I mean, I loved it. I thought it was great.
And it's very up to the team wanting to bring you on too. That's the biggest thing.
Kind of everybody has to be on board.
Yeah.
Everybody has to be on board.
It is very much it's a learning position being an apprentice. Like, it's very different from being an assistant editor, where like if someone comes on as an assistant editor, there's this expectation that they already know how to do, you know, a certain floor level of things, right? They know how to do, you know, X, Y, and Z things. Most people, when they bring on an apprentice, the assumption is we are going to assume you know nothing. Yeah. And we are going to purposely train you in all of these different things that you need to learn.
Yeah. And one thing to note too is, if let's say you are in a position where you have a team that's looking to help you get that bump, where you are in the path of the production is really important. So it's a lot easier to get that bump up happening early on in a production, if it's just starting or even before it starts, than it would be to do it later on. Because if you are able to get the bump on a show, you need to get back pay for all the days that you've worked on that show as a post PA without being an apprentice. Because being an apprentice editor does come with a pay bump, because you're now a union position, and so you're getting union minimum dues. But if you are, let's say, you know, a year and a half in on a production and you want to try getting the bump at the end, there's a lot of money that the production would need to send your way, which may not be the most attractive thing for them to do. And so timing can be really important.
Commonly, if you're going to be bumped into an apprentice, they have to bump you at the beginning of a show.
At the beginning of a new show.
Typically. I do find too that if you're going to take the days route, and this is like kind of depending on your situation and what you prefer to go through. I always find that if you take the days route, it can be potentially a little bit easier, because if you're being pulled on to a non-union show, people are more likely to be like, yeah, I'll hire you for little to no money, and then you can use these as like your days to get in. Which
because
is
a day from what I understand, a day literally just has to be 8 hours of minimum wage work. That's all it is. So you know, I've done work for very low budget shows before. I mean, I think we discussed this, or you and I have talked about this before. Like, I didn't get all my days, but I had been getting my days before I got my apprenticeship. And a lot of that was on shows where I was like, listen, I'll do this, but you have to pay me minimum wage just so I can register this and get my days.
And say that it was an 8-hour work day.
Say that it was an 8-hour work day.
Because the way that you can prove to contract services that you have your 8 days is to show them your pay stubs.
Yes.
So you need pay stubs to prove, like, I did work this amount of hours.
Yes.
This is my title.
Yeah.
And this is the like, it's a legit company.
Yes.
It can't be like
can't
under
be
the
Venmo
table.
payments.
It can't be any of that.
Yeah.
It has to be like from a legit production company.
You have to file taxes on it. All that whole
in order for contract services to see that, okay, this is correct, and this counts. But then after you get your days and it's been all cleared by contract services, you end up on the roster. And
the industry experience roster.
Yeah,
which is literally just a list of people who have industry experience. That's exactly. It's silly, but that's exactly what it is.
It tells different employees that you are now eligible to be
in a union. If you're not already. I mean, it's always this weird thing of like, even if you're in the union, you're on the IER, you're on the industry experience roster. But to be union eligible, if you're not a member of a union, you still have to be on the IER. That's how you become union eligible. But, you know, Grant, Lian and I both did this very differently. So this is kind of an ongoing debate in the editorial community, is whether or not you should be a PA first, or whether or not you should get your days first.
And focus on being an assistant and getting your days.
Yeah.
Because the apprenticeship is great, but it is by no means guaranteed.
No,
I would say that it's a very, like, if your career plan was to go for the apprenticeship, that's a bad career plan. But based on your experience, like your boots on the ground right now, what do you think? Would you recommend to that person to go get their days first, or to be a PA first?
I honestly would recommend going to get your days first. And I'm saying this, and I'm again, do as I say, not as I do, for sure. But I have seen on multiple occasions now, friends of mine who are put in an environment where they are PAs on a show, and they have enough knowledge and experience to get the bump up to apprentice, where they could, or not even apprentice, assistant editor, where they could do assistant editor work, But because the production is either financially not able to sponsor them for an apprentice role, they have just no more money to pay that pump, they're not capable of bringing that person up to the next role. And I have a lot of friends too who went and got their days first, was then able to get as a PA on which they wanted to be, and they were very naturally able to get the bump to assistant because they were already on the roster and they were already ready to get that bump up. So by going and getting your days first, it provides a safety net for potential opportunities for you. Whereas if you don't have the union, you're a bit more restricted in the ways that you can go. And again, you are kind of relying on luck basically to get that potential apprentice bump. And so I definitely think that going out and getting that experience first is just
helpful.
It's way more helpful. Yeah. And it's safer. Because again, with this whole industry is a mentor of mine during the internship, John Axelrad, gave a great kind of quote where, what was it? It was this equation of kind of how the industry works, where it was preparation plus opportunity. Or no,
preparation plus luck.
Edit this out. Preparation plus luck equals opportunity. And so one, you want to get the skill sets together where you know your shit, you know your Avid, you know your Premiere, you know how to do assistant work. But then also you need to put yourself in an environment to be lucky, right? And so whether that's putting yourself around people, a community of people that are also working in editorial, where you let them know kind of what your goals are. You're in a team that is really great, that might be able to give you opportunities further on. But because you're both prepared with the experience you have, whether it's technical skill or it's having your days and being on the roster and then being in a good environment, that's where the opportunities lead to. And so it's setting yourself up to be lucky is a big part of this industry.
I think the opposite.
Really?
I do.
You think so?
It's funny because I was not, right?
You were not. That's true.
I think that you should be a PA first to understand the cutting room and how it works, because I personally don't think that you can really learn that anywhere else. So I think that you should be a PA first, gain your connections and everything, and then go and try and get your days and come back to those connections when you have them. Because the days, when you get your 100 days in the union, you have 2 years until they expire. So if you're trying to get your days as an assistant, right, and you get your days and you're like, all right, cool, now I need to be in the union, you have 2 years to get into a union job before that runs out. And who knows whether you've made the right connections to get you to there. So I always say to make you get your connections while you're a PA and learn the basics of the editing room and learn the skill set and learn how it works and everything. And then try and get your days. And now you can say, I have my days. You know, I worked well as a PA. Like if you need an assistant, if you know of someone who has who needs someone, I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I get that.
And that's only because I personally, when there's like a time limit on something, I get super anxious about it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, if I have my days and then I have to be a PA, like let's say you got your days and then you're a PA for something, that show could go for like a year. Now you have a year to then get an assistant union gig, which is like, in my head, that's just
stressful.
Like, so stressful. So that's why I think the opposite, but obviously it's different in everybody's
I think
case.
I'm going to disagree with both of you.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Contrarian over here.
I'm gonna and say I think
you're gonna go the like apprentice route.
No, I'm gonna go the I think you cross the river by feeling the stones kind of thing. I think like, because I hear both of these sides all the time, but I also am like, I think a big mistake that somebody can make is working towards getting their days. They don't have all their days yet, and then this amazing PA opportunity comes their way, and they turn it down in order to continue getting their days. I think that's a mistake.
Which is something, so you said that, because I almost did that exact thing.
Yes.
And then I decided not to do that, and that was the right decision.
Yeah, I think
I would say that's a mistake. In my opinion, I would agree with you.
Yes,
Michael.
So that's kind of what I mean. Like, I agree. If you're just sitting on your butt and you're not doing anything, go get your days.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if you don't have a PA gig, you should be getting your days. But every day that you're working towards getting your days should also be a day that you're working towards becoming a post PA on something big.
That makes sense.
That's what I would say. And I would say
So you kind of would like doing both.
You do both.
A little bit at the same time.
You do both because honestly, you never know which one's going to pan out.
Right.
And it's better, I think, because the apprenticeship it's a total, who knows if you'll get it. But if you do get it, it's worth fighting for it.
Yeah.
So, if you are if you're in a position where you can go and potentially get that apprenticeship by working in a really great cutting room, even if that comes at the forfeit of getting your days, I think it's worth it. Personally.
Yeah.
I think it's worth it.
And I think to Leon's kind of method too, what she said is one of the realest things with what her side said was the idea of making your connections first. And it really is like the people that you meet and you work with are the ones that will be getting you the next jobs too. And the connections are, I think, the most important aspect of this whole process, of this whole kind of plan that you may try to create for yourself too. And so it's like putting yourself in environments where you can meet the people, working on the kind of shows that you want to work on, and working in the environment you want to be in, and proving to them that you are somebody that is worth hiring and worth being with.
Right.
That is what will kind of guide you.
I want to ask you this. I feel like this term you'll hear a lot, especially as you're PAing. You hear this phrase, which is paying your dues. When I was PAing, that was a very I think we all have this very like conceptual idea about what that means. But I remember being really frustrated by that, this idea of just paying your dues.
Interesting. I was not. But I've told you this before, that if money was not an option, like let's just say we just didn't have to worry about money to live, I would do this job for free. So like I loved it so much that even if this was paying my dues, I was like, I'm doing it. Like no
I think
matter
for
what.
me, I understand the premise of paying your dues, but I think I was always just very more like, well, what does that mean? Like what is that? What is this industry asking of me? Was kind of the thing, right? Because they just say you really got to pay your dues, but nobody ever actually like dives into what that means. So I'm curious from your perspective of being a PA now for 2 years. What does that mean to you? Do you feel like you've paid your dues? Do you like, what did that, if you were to encapsulate that thought into your lived experience?
When I think of the phrase pay your dues, the concept that pops into my mind is the idea of you have this goal for what you want to do, and in order to get to that goal, you're doing something that you don't want to do to then allow yourself to get there. But for me, that feels like a very unhealthy mindset to be in.
I agree.
Because I think to be a PA, and specifically to be a good PA, so much of it is being a great assistant. And I think for me, what I've tried turning it into is being like, a positive radiating source for the team to help, keep spirits alive and to keep, work being as easy as possible for them, because you take the grunt of some of the more menial stuff. But by you taking that on and being that very important aspect of the collaborative whole, that allows for the production to go on. And by you doing your job well, the team will see and recognize that. And that allows you guys to kind of collectively go forward in, a good way.
Esther Sokolow gave me one of the best pieces of advice when I was asking about being a PA. And she said, it's really easy to be a great PA at 2 p.m. It's really hard to be a great PA at 2 a.m. And I think that really encapsulates kind of what you're talking about here, which is like, and I kind of like that like paying your dues isn't about getting beat up or anything like that, right? It's not hazing. But there's this element that like paying your dues can mean being the support for a team that needs that support at critical junctures. That in many ways can be paying your dues. That can just being there to show up for your team, to like take care of everybody, to make sure that like people can get through a difficult period of time.
Positivity allows for a more enjoyable environment too. When you work 10, 20 years in this industry, it can be easy to get really jaded. And so like being a PA, because you're a fresh set of eyes, if you can keep your passion alive for what it is that you do and you show your excitement, the team can see the excitement through you. And in many ways, it reminds them a lot of the reasons why they fell in love with it in the first place too. And you can be that source of inspiration as well.
I think also like for me, paying your dues is kind of like, no one really wants to go get lunches, but then you have to think of it as like,
but it's a total,
I'm not just getting lunches because I don't want to do it. It's like I'm getting lunches because I have to prove to my team that I can get lunches and that I can.
It's the basics
of a total Mr. Miyagi karate. Where it's like, you're not getting lunches because we think the only thing that a PA is good for is getting lunches. We're getting lunches because somebody's got to get lunches, and it's a test of your attention to detail.
Exactly.
It's a 1 year long test of your attention to detail. Same with getting coffee. Like, it's a silly thing. I tell PAs this. I'm like, the most important thing you do in your job is you get the lunch.
Mhm.
And I cannot tell you how important it is. If Daniel doesn't want almonds on his salad, don't let there be almonds on his salad. Like,
And again, like Michael said, that sounds so silly.
but
But
if you can't get a lunch order right, then how do you know if you're going
how you
to
gonna trust
label a
somebody-
file right? You know,
exactly. How are you going to trust them to do a turnover correctly? How are
Yeah.
you going to trust them to QC
organize
this
the
correctly?
dailies correctly.
Do this bin organization correctly.
Yeah.
Do this audio prep correct. Like there's a million things.
Besides that, too, it's also like organizing. Like if you're getting lunches for like 10 people,
Yes.
you have to remember who has what, and you have to make sure you took notes on
Yep.
who has what and where
You
it
need to have an
goes.
organization system.
Yeah.
You need to have a method of getting to the restaurant efficiently, back efficiently.
Yeah.
Time management. You got to make sure it's on time because the director is going to break for lunch at 1. The lunch has got to be there at 1, no matter what.
Managing a P card too, managing
Yeah.
expenses, managing like all that stuff. It seems silly, but it is a total like,
It's all skills that you need to be an assistant
just-
and be an editor and
Yes,
just be in the
100%.
industry.
Mhm.
So it's very much like an entry level job where you're kind of put to the test of what kind of skills do you have in general
Yeah.
as a person, and can you handle being an assistant, an editor?
because I think
or-
there's this expectation post, when you have an apprentice, like there is this expectation that like if you're somebody who's somebody who's detail oriented, and you're somebody who can also handle the culture of a cutting room, can handle that experience, that whole experience, that any good assistant editor should be able to train you to do what you need to do. Right, like there's no it's not like you need some magic sauce. There's no magic set of skills or magic brain that somebody needs to have to be an assistant editor. It just needs to be, are you somebody who's dedicated enough to do this?
I think like in editorial, no matter what position you're in, one of the greatest skills and the skills that you use on a daily basis is knowing how to figure it out.
Yeah.
And like I think you get a great
Knowing how to listen.
know how to listen. Yeah. And as a
Right.
PA, you get a great experience with that because, it's like if you have that challenge of like, there's traffic on the way to go get lunch and you have a 16-person order where you only have so much space to fit the food in your car. Like, how do you get it on time? And it's like you have to kind of go through that process of problem solving to get that task done. But then even an editorial, as an assistant or as an editor, figuring it out. How do you get it work? Because you know what your goal is at the end of the day. And you like part of the job is figuring out, okay, well, what do I need to do to get that done? And so it's like, as a PA, for me at least, a lot of it has been training myself in that process of, okay, well, the answer isn't right in front of me. Google may not have the answer right away, but I still need to get this thing done. How do I do that? And PAing is a great daily practice of that constantly. And you figure out what methods work for you and you carry that with you for the rest of your career as well.
And what kind of what would a day look like as a PA for Grant?
For me.
For you,
For Grant.
like you come into the office.
Well, okay, I'll
right?
stop you
And
right
then
there.
I'll
stop you right there.
Are you?
Yeah, you're working remotely.
I
Home?
work remotely. So
All right. So explain to us then what I have no idea how you would PA remotely.
It's
so
really
I would
weird.
like to know that too.
It's really rare. Basically, what I've been doing is a whole assortment of things. So I actually have been kind of lucky in that I don't get lunch orders for my team. I did as a VFX PA, and I think the office lifestyle of a VFX PA versus a post PA, I think is very similar. So I had a more traditional kind of time with that. As a remote PA, one of my main things is kind of just like meeting organization and calendar organization. And so we'll have, because we're all fully remote, our editors are remote too, we use a software called Clearview to do our video streams from the Avid to anybody's computers. And so I'll help set that up, make sure everybody has the right sharing links. And because security is so big on our show, knowing how to jump through all the loops with that and knowing what people to communicate with to get our reviews set up while they're still being secure is a big thing. Another thing is, hard drive movement and shipping. And so I've actually been kind of working on our other show. It's been doing some lighting tests and camera tests. And so I'll also go to our stage sometimes, grab the hard drive with that day's footage and take it up to PhotoChem in Burbank. And so just doing hard drive drives, you could say. I also was working with our team a lot doing ADR. And so we did have an in-person office space where we'd bring in the actors to do the ADR for our show. And so anytime we knew that happened, I'd kind of come in, I'd help set up the room with our supervising sound designer and making sure all the equipment was set up properly, making sure that we had the recording ready and up by the time the actors would come in. And then when the actors would come, if we had more than one, I'd be in charge of just babysitting them, making sure that they were kept entertained and everything was kind of happy with them. I helped to keep the fridge stocked, so I made sure all the right drinks and foods and snacks were available whenever it would come in too. So creating a very smooth transitioning process from the time people arrived to then doing the actual event to then finishing making sure all of that went step by step as fluidly as possible without there being interruptions, because time is money, and it's very important to make sure the actors are happy. I think when I think of a PA, I think of just, again, like a general assistant to whatever task needs to get done. You are the one in charge of making sure that task is done as smoothly as possible, and kind of finding where all the kinks in the system could be. A big part of PAing for me is for those big moments, like if a big review is coming up or a big ADR session is coming up, testing it beforehand, making sure that you can do it yourself. And what each step of the process looks like. So then when they come in, if anything were to happen immediately, you can fix it as fast as possible too.
Right.
And so a big part of PAing is foreseeing the future and kind of being a bit of a...
Anticipating if anything goes wrong or what could go wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of similarly, before I PA'd, I was an avid tech. So a lot of my PA responsibilities when I was PAing was like physical stuff with the Avid. It was like,
is everything plugged in right?
Is everything plugged in right?
Connected?
Or our client monitor isn't working. Michael, can you diagnose this? And then it's like, oh, this SDI cable is bad. Like, so kind of similar, like sometimes being a PA, you can find yourself doing a lot of jobs that aren't just getting lunches. It can be, you might be in charge of the continuity. You might be in charge of, all kinds of different documents or things that aren't technically Avid work, but, you can still do.
Yeah.
So I think it's important as a PA that you're able to be fluid. You're able to do whatever the whatever the cutting room needs of you, basically.
And I will say too, being a PA, if you can find any opportunity to save the day, that's great. Be huge for you too. Yeah. And if you can bring in any skill set you have with you into the position and allow that to kind of integrate itself into whatever work needs to get done, like that can be a huge boost for you.
Can you also explain, because you said you were in the office for VFX, so could you just explain then what it was like to be even a VFX PA in the office? And now I know that you've done both. You've been in the office and remote. So what's the office setting like?
The office setting, honestly, for me, I much preferred. It was, again, that more general day in, day out where you kind of see your team together. And that was the general, like each day you'd go for the lunch runs. You have your own routine of kind of making sure lunch was ready. A lot of it was office maintenance. And so making sure the office was clean, right? So you go into the kitchen, if people kind of had dirty dishes in the sink, making sure you were cleaning that, putting them back to where it needed to be. Making sure everything was easily accessible, and like you as a PA should know every nook and cranny of the office. And so if anybody needs like a Sharpie or a piece of paper or want like a snack, like you can guide them in the right directions or even make it kind of clear where that is. And so kind of like you were kind of the custodian of the space for everybody else.
Turning a post house to a post home.
Yes, no, exactly. Yeah. The other thing was when the holidays would come around, like decorating for the festivities, right? And like again, like if this is a place everybody comes to every single day, making sure there is liveliness.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I when I was PA, a lot of my responsibilities was like just decorating.
Yeah.
Like that ended up being like you don't have a plant in this office. I'm gonna go get you a plant.
Yeah.
Like you need a lamp here. Like this is depressing. Put up a photo of your kids.
Yeah.
Like, let's try to make this.
On the Batman,
place.
I know a PA also. Every time that it was someone's birthday, they would decorate the room, and then be like, happy birthday. But she was good with getting. We even had like a little when it was football season. We had a little NFL like football thing on the floor,
When we had the World Series on Creator, our PA had the World Series playing. Not the World Series, sorry, the World Cup, the soccer World Cup. He had the games playing, and he had a little like a bulletin or what's it called, the bracket, so we could see where all the different teams were and like in the group stage and stuff. So it was like a fun. You could just go in the hallway.
That's
and
great.
See,
yeah.
It's just stuff like that.
If you can incorporate fun into your environment, like that just goes such a long way for boosting the spirits for everybody.
No, if you can turn these. Sometimes these editing offices are cold and derelict. And
sometimes you don't have windows. Sometimes
no windows.
You got these bizarre ass places that will cut movies. It's really important. I mean, it's silly, but it's like even putting up those $5 decorations from Dollar Tree really can make all the difference for somebody's just happiness. Remembering somebody's birthday.
Birthday is a huge thing. Definitely, if you go onto production as a PA, the first thing I'd recommend is get in touch with either your accounting department or whoever has a list of birthdays on your team. Put it in your calendar and do something for every single person, whether it's just getting like a baked good or like going all out and doing something themed, something that they like. Like making sure everybody is recognized for their birthday is, I think, a really, really big thing.
I remember on the Batman, This is completely my fault. My birthday, for some reason, I kept saying it was on a Tuesday. And like looked at the calendar and was like, oh no, my birthday's not on Tuesday. It's on Monday. And I like had said it at like the wrong.
So many times.
I said it like, yeah. So I came in on my birthday and I had like mentioned it. And our post supervisor came in and was like, oh my God, I think Lian's birthday is today. And so they were like kind of like, I went to the bathroom at one point and I came back and I saw them like putting up old decorations like on my door. And they like looked at me and I was like, they were like, oh, don't come back. I was like, I didn't see anything. And I like stepped out for a second. And then I came back in and they were like, oh, yeah, happy birthday. I was like, I am so sorry. This was completely my fault. I told you the wrong day.
I'm the worst person, and I never tell anybody in the cutting room it's my birthday.
I also do. I do try to keep
it like secret. I'll go the whole day and not tell anybody.
I'm more like, but I want cake.
It's my birthday, motherfucker.
But
I want my free food.
This is when it's acceptable to buy a whole cake for the office, and you can have some.
So, Grant, I think we interrogated you about your career long enough. I want to give you an opportunity to talk about something I know you really care about.
Oh.
How is the final shape going?
Oh my God, Destiny 2.
Tell me, how are you balancing? I know Leanne is rolling her eyes. This is the worst thing, but I got to give Grant his 5 minutes to talk about the final shape.
All right.
Tell me, how are you balancing a full-time career being a post PA with your obligations, rating,
very fair,
against the witness?
Final shape has been phenomenal. It is the Avengers Endgame moment of the Destiny storyline. I've been playing Destiny for 10 years. And
wow.
It's a big deal.
It's been really fun seeing how the story has progressed over the time, and they sent it off with a bang for sure. It's been really great. Balancing my time with it has been tough. I've been getting very little sleep the last couple of weeks because I've been doing some sleep procrastination and trying to keep up with what I need to do while also balancing my full day job. But it's been great. Thank you for asking, Michael. I appreciate the care.
Of course.
In that.
Of course.
And also, I'll do a little shout out. If there are any editors out there who also play Destiny,
Grant's looking for people on his raid team.
I very much am looking for people to join up. My Bungie ID is Wardo, #1814. Feel free to add me as a Bungie friend. I got Steam as well, so I'm always looking for more Guardians out there to join.
Grant had a bunch of his friends.
We'll put your tag in our bio for this episode.
My Bungie ID in the description.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming and being our first guest on this podcast.
Thank you, Lian and Michael, for thinking that I was someone worth talking to. I appreciate that. I didn't ramble too much.
No, it was great.
It was helpful at all.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to our second episode of Sips and Clips, and we hope to see you next time.
All right, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Sips and Clips is a podcast produced by Leanne McFalls and Michael Schusterman. Graphic by Max Schulman. Sound mixing by Zach Griffin. Follow us on Instagram at Sips and Clips Pod. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe.